Hey friends, my name is Joey and welcome back to my channel, Gender Not Found. Um, hold on. Of course I was trying to do the freaking intro. Anyway, so I know that today's video was supposed to be uploaded yesterday, but I kind of had an emotional day and I just wasn't feeling up to it, so instead I decided to upload it today, and this video is going to be uploaded either today or tomorrow. But if it just know that I'm recording it today, even if it gets uploaded tomorrow, and I'm talking about yesterday as in Wednesday, so yeah, it's Thursday today. Which you know because I have the date. Fuck. Which you know because I have the date up there in the corner. I keep yawning. Anyway, so I'm gonna be reading A Guardian Angel again. I'm really into this book, and I really want to know what happens next. It's adorable, and we kind of ended on a really depressing note, so I really want to know what happens next. So I'm gonna try and read 3 chapters today. We're definitely gonna get through 2, and then I'll see if I can do a third, like based on how late it is, because my mom's gonna be getting home in like an hour her to an hour and a half, so I'm gonna have to see how long everything takes, and then I'll check on things like after each chapter and be like, decide if I can decide if I can keep going. I keep yawning. Okay, I'm gonna try and just read the book now because I keep yawning. So, Chapter 7. Thank the good old doc. Marshall hadn't moved from his spot on the ground. Honestly, he didn't want to. Never in his life had he ever felt so lost, and he couldn't understand why. Why was he feeling like this, especially since he lost friends and family without ever feeling something like this? It was as if half of him was missing, and she'd only been gone 5 hours now. Marshall didn't know why, he just couldn't understand. If he could understand, if only he could understand. The knock on his door. Damn it. The knock on his door didn't startle him, but merely woke him from his stupor. Blinking slowly, he looked over at the door, which was only a few feet away from him. Leaning over, he reached up, twisting the knob, opening the door, mere inches before sitting back down, staring into the darkness of his house. He was concerned. Marshall hadn't shown up. He always had, so after waiting an hour, Simon made his way to the teen's house, a practice his mother specifically requested had he attempted to skip his psych tests. He made his way to the house and up the walkway. None of the lights were on, and it looked as if it were either abandoned or no one was home. Walking up the 3 steps, Simon knocked on the door, his hand on the knob. It was locked. It was with that information that the man decided that Marshall just must not be home. However, mere moments later, the door creaked open a few inches, and the older man was met with nothing but silence. Pushing the door open, he looked around, spotting Marshall sitting on the floor in the darkness. Marshall, are you all right? The teen merely shrugged his shoulders. Walking in front of him, Simon flicked on a light, watching as the teen flinched in the brightness and crouched down in front of him. You missed our appointment, Marshall. I don't care, he said softly. Marshall, you know that if you miss any appointments, it's another month you have to report to us. I'm sorry, Simon, but I just really don't care. Besides, it's my mom's money, so just go ahead and charge her. It's not like she listens to me anyways. This wasn't like him. Usually when insulting his mother, the boy put so much effort into it trying to make her mad. Marshall, what's wrong? Simon asked, now squatting down. She's gone. Who's gone, Marshall? The teen sat in silence for a moment, finally speaking. Fiona. New girl? Yeah. What happened? In your last few journal entries, you wrote about being worried for her because of her foster father, I believe? Hearing this, Marshall looked over to the man. You actually read what I write? That I do, and I don't for one believe you to be anything other than mentally stable. 3 days ago, she said she was afraid to go back home. Her foster mother was working late, and she was stuck alone more often with her foster father. Marshall continued speaking, telling the doctor of what had occurred in the last few days, and how just today she was taken away, even going as far back to the very day they both met. I just don't understand why it hurts so much, though. I don't. People have left me, friends, family, even my mother, but none of them hurt like this hurts. Simon was quiet for a moment before he spoke. Marshall, it sounds to me like you're in love with her. That's why it hurts so much. While you're mentally stable, you do have difficulties forming attachments. Your attachment to your father was strong, the one with your mother not so much. Your attachments with your friends could be stronger, but you always hold back in them. It seems, however, with this girl Fiona, you found a kindred spirit, someone who understood you without even trying, and someone you could be yourself with, and it was easy to do so, wasn't it? Again, Marshall nodded. Simon was right, it had been easy. I don't know what to do, though. Stay in contact with her, Marshall. It's all you can do right now. As you've said, she is a minor, so currently she's at the mercy of our legal system, and whoever decides to place her wherever she might be. For now, Marshall, just continue on with your life. Imagine that she went on vacation if it makes it easier. And do not forget that we're in an age of logic and technology. There are phones, emails, letters. There are multiple ways to stay in contact with your friend. Make use of them. I will, Marshall said with a nod. Will you be all right if I leave you now? Our mandatory hour is up, Simon asked, looking at the watch on his wrist. I'll be fine. It's not like I'll do something stupid. I'll see you tomorrow, Marshall, and don't forget that it's quite all right to express yourself using various outlets. Yeah, he said softly, watching the white-haired man stand and walk from the house. All he really wanted, more than anything, was to be left alone. More than that, though, he wanted Fiona back. Maybe he was in love with her after all. Follow-up doctor's notes. I have returned from visiting Marshall Lee and have learned that in quite a short time he had developed a very strong and fairly complex relationship with the one he had labeled New Girl. However, due to unexpected events, attempted sexual abuse by her foster parent, she removed herself from their custody and was hiding at Marshall's house. Unsure of what course of action to take, both kept quiet about the incident until a tip given to the police led to the girl being once again taken into the custody of the government. Upon my visit, I found Marshall sitting in the dark, in a state that honestly had worried me. I did not wish to leave him when the hour mark of our session had passed. However, it is his choice whether or not to go forward and continue the session. Since he did not wish it, I was unable to stay at his residence. It is my professional opinion that Marshall may fall into a depression, and I do believe it will be difficult to bring him out of it. My only hopes are that I am wrong in my assumption. Simon Petrikov. She was in a new place again. I guess we're back to Fiona. New smells, new looks, new people. The room was bare and she was alone. Completely alone. And the worst part was she was clear across the state. Over 100 miles away from where she had been. From where Marshall was with Cake. Dropping her things in the corner, Fiona walked over to the bed, flopped on it, and cried. It wasn't long before the sound of her crying had drawn in her new foster mother, who opened the door with a knock. Fiona, honey, are you okay? The blonde asked, sitting next to the girl on the bed, gently rubbing her head. Miss Marshall, the teen said sadly, and I miss Cake, and I'm so tired of moving around so much. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you miss your friend, hun, but I hope you can be happy here, the older woman said, still trying to soothe the girl before her, I think. I don't think I'll ever be happy again. You'll make new friends, hon. I know they won't replace Marshall, but you'll make friends here. But I think I love him. This silenced her foster mother. How do you know you love him, Fiona? You're so young. He makes me feel safe and special, and even though we're only friends, when he smiles at me, my heart jumps to my throat, and my insides feel like wiggling spaghetti. Well, it definitely sounds like you like him, Fiona. Well, there's no point in liking him now. He's a million miles away. He'll forget about me. They all forget about me. Standing, the woman decided to give the girl some space. I think everything will work out for the best, Fiona. I really do. Oh my gosh. Alright, that's the end of the first chapter that we're going to be reading today. And it's been less than 2 minutes, so yeah, we're going to do 2 more. We're probably going to have no problem doing 2 more. I mean, unless the next chapter is like really, really long or something. Anyway, I'll be right back with chapter 8. Okay, I had a bit of a problem with my stupid browser, but it's all fixed now, and now we're on chapter 8. Chapter 8, A Tragic Past. Marshall had been sitting up most of the night, and at some point he had moved to his bedroom from the living room, where he'd flopped earlier in the day. He didn't care that he was missing school. It had been a week with no contact from Fiona at all. None. It sucked. The only reason he'd leave the house was because he promised Simon again the night before that he would see him the following day. Of all his thoughts, he wondered about what the older man had said the other night. He was in love with Fiona. It was easy to admit it to himself because it was more than true. Marshall could admit he definitely developed feelings for the blonde in those short 6 months. Laying on his bed, he strummed the old guitar that normally rested in the corner. 3 of his posters hung up on his wall next to one of his own band, Marshall Lee and the Scream Kings. He was strumming mindlessly, a tune that flowed from his fingertips. Just like the music flowed, so did the words. Marshall sang the song for hours, again and again, until it was time for his appointment. His phone had gone off around 1:30ish, but he hadn't bothered to answer it. He didn't even recognize the number and didn't want to deal with anyone. Putting his father's guitar back on its stand, he grabbed his hoodie and walked from his house, not caring about his lack of gloves, sunblock, or umbrella. He just pulled the hood over his head and headed to where he needed to be. Journal entry 44, maybe? Fiona's gone. I haven't heard from her at all. This blows, life blows, and I don't want to be here. I just want to go away. I don't feel like talking today. M. Putting the pen down, Marshall lay with his head on the desk with a sigh, and just stayed there for the rest of the hour. The new school was small, just like the town she was in. Fiona walked into the cafeteria, debating on sitting at an empty table and watching as all of the people sat around talking to their friends. She sighed and walked from the cafe. There was no reason for her to be there. Walking by the auditorium, she paused, looking through the window and the door. It was dark and quiet in there. Honestly, the first thought in her head was how Marshall would love it in there, and not having expected those thoughts, the blonde gasped, hugging herself tightly and quickly walking past the room. Making her way to her classroom, Fiona was happy to find it cancelled, and left early, signing out of the school and heading back to the house. It was her last class of the day. The walk to the house wasn't too far. Fiona just needed to remember to take a ride at the big oak tree 2 blocks down the street. She walked up the driveway and pulled out the key to the side door her foster mother had given her first morning after dropping her off at school. Opening the door to the house, Fiona walked in, expecting her foster parents to be at work. However, her foster father walked into the kitchen the moment she shut the door, locking it behind herself as she did so. "Oh, Fiona, what are you doing home so early?" The blonde's eyes widened, not having expected him here. Okay, this doesn't bode well. "My class was cancelled," she said in a small voice. She was alone with another foster father. Where was her foster mother? He wouldn't try what the last one did, right? Where's Ellen? "Oh, Ellen's working. She works until 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays." Fiona felt her throat go dry as she took an involuntary step away from him, holding her bags with shaking hands. "Do you work?" "Me. I work from home. I've always been a stay-at-home dad, especially when our boys were younger." "Oh, I'm The dark-haired man stared quizzically at her before understanding washed over his features, making him blink as he took a big step back, putting more space between them, making Fiona blink in confusion. "Fiona, Ellen and I were told about the reason you were sent to us, about what happened with your previous foster father." Hearing this, the blonde blanched. "I'm not saying that you need to trust me, because trust is indeed something earned, but please believe me when I say that I will never ever harm you. Try and believe in that, and eventually you should be able to trust those words, okay?" Fiona nodded silently. "Good, I'm going back to my office now. If there's anything you need, let me know. If you're hungry or thirsty, there's food and drinks in the cabinets and fridge. Help yourself. Oh, and so you know, Ellen does a homework check just after dinner, so get your homework done and ready for her, okay, Fiona?" "Okay." "Good, like I said, anything at all, let me know," he said, taking another step back and turning as he headed into the other room. Fiona waited until she heard the door to his office close before letting out a sigh of relief and making her way to her room. This room was quite a bit bigger than her last one, and she always imagined her room to look when she how and it was always how she imagined her room to look when she was finally adopted. A full-size bed was against the wall. By the window was a white desk and matching chair with a pale blue lantern. On the wall opposite the desk was a dresser with a vanity mirror, and on the dresser also was a phone. There was no TV, though, not that she minded. That was in what Ellen called the family room in the basement, along with several gaming systems. Walking over to the dresser, Fiona picked up the phone, trying to remember the number. Given the situation in which she was removed from, her cell phone, which had been given to her by the state if she needed to contact her foster parents, or emergency services for any reason, had been taken away, and a new one was given to her with a different number. Marshall couldn't call her, and she was trying so hard to remember his cell number. Closing her eyes, she dialed in a few numbers, but hung up. It sounded wrong. Once again she dialed several numbers, but hung up again. It was close, but not the same, and suddenly it came to her. Not the number, but the rhyme she came up with to remember it, and immediately dialed the numbers. They had sounded right, exactly right, and listened as the phone rang, until finally it hit voicemail, revealing an all too familiar voice that made the blonde tear up. Hey, you've reached Marshall. I'm up to no good right now, but leave a message and your number, and if I feel like it, I'll get back to you if I deem you worthy to experience the awesome that is me. Excitedly, Fiona began speaking. Marsh, dude, I've been trying to remember your number for forever. They took my phone and gave me a new one with a new number and all that dumb stuff. I really, really miss you, Marshall, but the family they put me with is really nice. The foster family they put me with is really nice. I'm in Carver, same state. It's Whisper Street, I believe. We're at the only yellow house with a white picket fence. It's cheesy, I know, but this place isn't so bad, Marshall. If you can come visit me, that would be awesome. I miss you. After leaving him her new number and the number for the house, Fiona hung up after one more goodbye and put his number into her cell phone. With that done, Fiona did her homework, leaving it on the desk. Honestly, she was curious about the house and wanted to explore it, but her fear was holding her back. Steve said that eventually she could trust him, but to believe he wouldn't hurt her. Fiona wanted to believe that, none of the others before the last one had tried anything. Taking a deep breath, Fiona explored the house. Seeking out the family room, she knew that along with video games, they had CDs and DVDs too. She flicked through the CDs and paused in shock at the cover of one of the discs. It couldn't be him. The man looked just like Marshall. Fiona, are you down here? The blonde looked over to see her new foster father descending the stairs. There you are, Ellen's back. What do you have there? He asked, not moving from his spot by the stairs. Tentatively, Fiona held out the CD for him, allowing him to move closer. Who's on the cover? She asked when he'd approached close enough to take the disc gently from her hand. His dark eyes scanned the case before he grinned. This is Marshall Abigail. He's the lead singer of the Scream Kings. How old is he? This couldn't be her Marshall. It just couldn't be. There was no way they had a CD out yet. Well, he was about 22 or 23 then, but she watched as the man did some math on his fingers. He'd be about 40 now, but he died around 11, 12 years ago. How? It's kind of sad, really. He was with his son at the time. He was robbed and shot. His wife said they had been coming back from the movies. It was all over the news. Actually, I think it's on the memoir DVD that had a few of his performances and interviews. The guy was amazing. Fiona watched as he stood browsing the DVDs until he pulled one out, handing it to her. Yeah, it's this one here. Can we watch it? Honestly, the blonde was curious to see the interviews. She wondered if Marshall was as much like his father as he looked. Sure, I'll put it in. Fiona sat on the farthest end of the couch watching as the movie played. There were quite a few performances, and Fiona was amazed at how much he and her Marshall sounded alike, and how well Marshall and his band played his father's music. Once the final concert ended, the interviews began. There was one or two for every year or so, and she watched as the years passed how there was always something new he was living for. In the beginning, it was following his dream. Then it was because of his fans. After that, it was for his love of music. And this time, what he said choked her up. So, Marshall, tell us what it is that you're living for. The black-haired man grinned, leaning back in the chair. This used to be one of the toughest questions to answer for me, you know? But now I have the answer, and it's going to be the same one for the rest of my life. Everything I do now is for my son, Marshall Lee. I live for him. The rest of the interview went by and the second one began, dealing with the same questions about his music and the probing questions about his family. So lately there has been quite the commotion questioning your parental behavior involving your son Marshall Lee. There's actually footage of you taking your 4-year-old son to a playground at around 9 p.m. May I ask why that was? What a lot. That's the big news. It's a scandal, the older Marshall said with a grin, looking calm and relaxed under the interviewer's gaze. What a lot of people don't know is that my son's special. He has a genetic disorder, and because of it, whatever damage from the sun he takes, it's almost impossible to heal. It's called xeroderma pigmentosum. My son will never be able to my son will never safely be able to feel the warmth of the sun on his skin, enjoy a day at the beach or park, or even walk down the aisle at his graduation, if it takes place in the daytime. But you know what? Just because it's a place used in the daytime doesn't mean I'm going to deny my child the knowledge of or experience of me pushing him on the swings, or going to the beach, or when he's older learning to drive, things like that. I want my son to have a childhood as normal as possible. The interview finished and the final one began. Once again, it was the usual stuff. Music, his life, but this time Fiona watched as a little dark-haired boy ran over and climbed on the chair where his father was. Hey, Marsh, what are you doing down here? You know Daddy's busy right now, kiddo. I know, but I missed you, Daddy. Fiona no longer paid any attention to what they were talking about. She just watched as the little boy that was her Marshall fell asleep in his father's arms, the man not minding one bit. That brings our interview to its conclusion, unless, of course, there's anything else you'd like to say. The young man asked, looking earnestly at Marshall and his son. Yeah, there is. This is for my son, Marshall. In this interview, you're 5 years old. You're my pride and joy, and you always will be. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. We may fight over big and little things. I might have to leave on concerts, and you might get mad at me for it. But I want you to know that everything I'm doing, I do for you. I love you more than words can express. Even now, as I hold you in my arms, I know this won't last. There will be a day when you don't fit on my lap anymore, a day when you don't run to me with your problems, because there will be a point in your life, and there always is, where coming to your parents for help is uncool. But please know more than anything on this earth, I love you the most. You and you alone have a special place in my heart. I love you, son. With that, the interview faded out to an end, and Fiona was fighting back tears. What played next was what killed her. The various breaking news stories, the 911 call, and the descriptions of what happened, and footage of a small dark-haired boy being hurriedly carried into the hospital just minutes before the ambulance arrived. All of this hit Fiona hard, and she couldn't help it, as the tears poured from her eyes. However, she never looked away from the screen before her. Why are you crying? Her stepfather asked gently. Because that's my Marshall. He never talked about his dad. He watched his father die. That had her bawling. She hated that she'd been so emotional this past week. It wasn't like her at all, and it was frustrating. The sound of footsteps could be heard descending the stairs, and the blonde that was Ellen appeared. Steve, what's wrong? What happened? Well, remember that boy she talked about from when she first got here Monday evening? Yeah? Well, this is his dad, he said, nodding towards the TV and watching as her eyes widened. Oh dear, sweetie, don't cry. Your friend still has his mom, Ellen said, making her way towards the crying teen. No, he doesn't. This had the two of them share a glance. Marcia's all alone down there. He lives alone, and as long as he goes to those stupid psych appointments, she doesn't care what he does. She doesn't care if he eats or if he uses sunblock or goes out in the daytime. She doesn't care at all. Fiona, hun, what in the world does daytime and sunblock have to do with a caring parent? I mean, eating's a given, but Marcia's sick. He has a genetic disorder, XP. I'm just gonna call it that because I literally cannot, can't. He said it means that the sun can literally kill him. He can burn in minutes, so he uses gloves and sunblock and umbrellas and long sleeves, all that just so he can feel normal, and his mom doesn't care, she doesn't, the girl said, wiping her eyes with her arm. Oh, Fiona, I'm so sorry, Ellen said, pulling the girl into a hug as she cried for her friend. Once the hour was finished, Marshall left the room. He headed down the stairs and passed through the lobby, ignoring the secretary, and walking into the dark. He left his cell phone at home, and as he made his way home, the dark-haired teen honestly wondered how he managed to live so long without Fiona bugging him. Was it always this soul-crushingly lonely? Entering his house, Marshall made his way to his room once again, grabbed his father's guitar, and began to sing. Playing his father's guitar always made Marshall feel closer to the man who'd passed too soon. He hated talking about it. He hated thinking about it. He hated that these memories would be with him for the rest of his life, so crystal clear and vivid. Flashback. Marshall had known, even at a young age, that his parents held a strong disdain for each other. The only reason they were even together in the first place after that one-night stand was because of him. His father, however, never held that against him. He loved his son like only a father could. He was his pride and joy and his heart and soul, and Marshall loved his father. The two were inseparable, and like every Friday night, Marshall and his dad were on the way to the movies. So, kiddo, what do you want to see tonight? We have the choice of vampires or zombies. Oh, Dad, so vampires eat brains and blood, right? Nope, just blood. Zombies. I want to see them eating brains. All right, then let us watch zombie hordes, the older man said with a grin. Yes, yes, but Dad, what about a zombie apocalypse? What do we do if the people start turning into zombies? Then we save ourselves and take them down. And how do we do that? A shot to the head. Right on, kid. Now, what do you do if I were to become bitten? I tell you I love you and take you down myself, the dark-haired 5-year-old said with a beaming smile that made his dad grin. Oh, now what do you do if I were to become bitten? He asked in all seriousness. I tell you I love you, and I take you down myself, the dark-haired 5-year-old said with a beaming smile that made his dad grin. That's exactly right, Marshall, he said, ruffling the boy's hair as they pulled into a parking space and shut off the car. Come on. Stepping out, he held the door open for his son, who clambered on over the driver's seat. Come on, kiddo, time for movies, the older Marshall said, taking his son's hand as they crossed the parking lot and entered the theater. The movie was bloody and gory, and all out a zombie spectacular. They were making their way back to the car, and it was late for the boy. Almost 11:30, he'd stayed awake for the whole movie. Holding onto his dad's shirt, Marshall rubbed his eyes, tiredly yawning. But he'd stayed awake for the whole movie. He came to an abrupt halt, bumping into his dad's leg, and curiously looking up as he watched a man stood before them, pointing something at his father. Listen, man, don't do anything rash. I've got my kid with me. I'll give you everything I have, okay? He said, tossing the man his wallet. Marshall watched as the man lowered whatever it was he was holding and suddenly pointed it at him. No! His dad grabbed him, holding on to him tightly and turning away from the man, and moments after he had done so, the sound of 3 loud bangs were heard as the two hit the ground hard. His father screamed, and the sound of retreating footsteps was heard echoing in the distance. Oh, Marshall, you okay, kiddo? He asked, looking his son over for any kind of injury. Yes, Daddy. Are you hurt? No, his dad groaned again and pulled his cell phone from his pocket, looking around before allowing his son to move from his arms. Good, take Daddy's phone and dial 911. Remember what I told you about 911? Marshall nodded. Tell them we're at Bellevue. Tell them we're at Bellevue Theater and someone shot your dad. Marshall pressed the buttons and listened. 911, what is your emergency? I'm at Bellevue Theater with my daddy, and someone shot him. What's your name? Marshall Lee. Is your daddy okay, Marshall? Are you okay, Daddy? He reached for the phone. Reaching for the phone, his father took it. No, I need an ambulance, he gasped, wincing, keeping any kind of composure to keep his son calm. Emergency responders are already on their way. Keep talking to me. Stay on the line, sir. Is your son injured? No. Is the man gone? Yes. Can you move to a safe location? No. Police and an ambulance are on the way to you right now. How are you holding up? Not good. It's okay, Daddy, it's okay, Marshall said, petting his father's head like his dad would do for him when he was tired or sick. What's your name, sir? Marshall Abadir. The Scream Kings? The very same, he said, coughing as his vision began to grow foggy. I'm coughing up blood and everything's getting fuzzy. I love you, Marshall. Just hold on, they'll be there in a minute or two. Daddy, wake up! The dark-haired boy said, shaking his father who'd grown still. So, are you still on the line? Sir? Daddy, the people are here! Daddy! Marshall looked around at all the emergency responders and was quickly lifted up and away from his father by a police officer and was placed in the back of the car. We're taking your daddy to the hospital. News had spread fast, and when they arrived at the hospital, Marshall was carried past several news crews and into the building. Dad! Marshall opened his eyes with a gasp, panting heavily. He hadn't had that dream in a long time. Growling, he turned over in his bed, wiping his eyes, and pulled the pillow over his head, then paused. He'd fallen asleep with his dad's guitar, and now it was back on the stand where it had originally been, and he didn't remember putting it there. Moments later, the door opened, and he whipped around to face the door, only to stare in surprise to see his mom. Oh gosh. Oh my god. Oh. I'm gonna cry. Oh my god, that was really intense. That fucking sucks. Wow, I can't believe his dad died. That's I mean, I knew his dad died, but like, I never. Oh my god. That's really sad. Okay. Sorry, just. I'm really emotional right now. Anyway, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and read a third chapter because I want to know what happens with his mom. Oh shit, it might be too late. Okay, I'll see how long the next chapter is, and then I'll either. I'm gonna try and record the next chapter because I really want to do a third one. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the video and I'll be right back. Okay, the last chapter was really freaking depressing. There was a whole story about how his dad died, and it was just really sad. Anyway, I'm gonna read the next chapter because I want to know what happens with his mom. So we're gonna find out. I can't stop yelling. mm. Chapter 9: Expression Through Music. What are you doing here? Marshall asked, quickly wiping his face dry. Can't I come to check up on my son? Hannah Abidir asked, crossing arms across her chest. I've been on my own for 6 months and you haven't so much as called. What are you doing here? Dr. Petrakov said that it would be within my best interest as a parent to come check up on you, so it hadn't even been her own thinking to check up on him. Someone had to tell her to. Marshall, every entry along with Dr. Petrakov's notes are sent to me every evening. According to him, you've fallen into a depression, and from what I've read, I don't doubt it. Oh my god. Now, you're going to get dressed and you're going downstairs, and you and I are going for a walk to talk about what's going on. We're going on a walk? Marshall asked skeptically. Yes, Marshall, a walk. You're as pale as a ghost, and sunlight would do you some good, his mom said in a serious voice with her hands on her hips. Are you fucking serious? Are you serious right now? A walk? Heh. Are you trying to get me killed? Seriously, how do you keep forgetting this? I'm your son, and you can't even remember this one very important thing about me. Marshall ran his hands through his hair, groaning in frustration. You know what? Even when he's dead, Dad's there for me more than you are. Even though he's gone, I can feel him with me, and I know he listens to me when I speak to him. But you're the one who needs daily freaking psych appointments, not me. Gosh, I wish I'd never been born. He growled, burying his face in his hands as he tried to calm his anger. Yeah, well, that makes two of us, his mom snapped, and just like that, he lost the ability to breathe. Marshall quickly looked up at his mother, unable to hide the pained, hurt look on his face as he stared at her. When is he going to find the message from Fiona? She covered her mouth with her hand, and her eyes were wide with shock and regret from what she'd just said. Marshall, I didn't mean, just get out of my house, he said in a defeated voice as he hung his head. It was true, even his own mother didn't want him. Marshall, just get out, he growled, glaring at the dark-haired woman who stared haughtily at him. Marshall, it's because of me you have this house. You can't throw me out of it. You signed for it because I was underage, but the second I turned 18, it became mine. My father paid for it with the money he left for me. It's because of him that I'll never have to worry about where my next meal is coming from, or where I'll stay or live. Because of my father, I want for nothing. There's only two things I want in this world, and one of them is for you to just leave me alone. Fine then. And the other? It's none of your business, he said stubbornly. Whatever, I tried to help you in every way I could, but you only proved just how much of your father's child you are. Now he felt as if he'd been slapped. Like I'm insulted to hear that. I'm proud to be my father's son. I'm proud to have his name. Don't you ever forget it. He taught me to have respect for anyone, for everyone. The only reason I have any sort of respect for you is because you brought me into this world. But that's just it. You birthed me, but you never gave me my life. You never showed me a parent's love like he did. You never showed me music or art or what it means to be loved. For years more than anything, I wanted to know what it felt like to have you love me. But every time you were nothing but a disappointment and a waste of my time. I should have known better. A demon would love its child more than you love me, and I swear if you don't get out, I'm going to stand outside until I burn to death. And if you don't think I will, try me. Okay, I understand. I get it. Do you? He shouted, breathing heavily. All of this was just too much today. Yes, Marshall, I get it. I'm leaving, but when you're ready to talk, like that'll happen. You have my number. Turning on her heel, Marshall watched as she stormed from his house, only walking from his room when he heard the front door slam shut. With a sigh, Marshall made his way down the stairs and grabbed an apple from the fridge. He'd get a doctor's note from Simon tonight. The man already promised him one for missing school. He wasn't going back to normal hours. Marshall had decided to start night classes instead. That that makes a lot of sense. Probably what he should have been doing from the beginning. Heading back upstairs, Marshall flopped on the bed again, and his eyes caught the cell phone as his brow furrowed. He didn't know he had a voicemail. Grabbing his phone, he dialed the number and entered his password, and was greeted with a voice that made him grin for the first time in more than a week. Marsh, dude, I've been trying to remember your number for like forever. They took my phone and they gave me a new one with a new number and all that dumb stuff. I really, really miss you, Marshall, but the foster family they put me with is really nice. I'm in Carver, same state. It's Whisper Street, I believe. We're the only yellow house with a white picket fence. It's cheesy, I know, but this place isn't so bad, Marshall. If you could come visit me down here, that would be awesome. I miss you. Hold on and I'll give you my number for this dumb cell phone. Most of the time I just want to set it on fire. He could hear her rustling around until finally she recited the new number for her cell phone, then the house phone, which it seemed that she'd called from. I really miss you, Marshall. I hope you call me soon. I miss hearing your voice, Marsh, and I really, really miss you. Bye. Hearing the message, Marshall was grinning from ear to ear. Suddenly an idea popped into his head, and grabbing some of his dad's old recording equipment, he set up his dad's guitar and began playing it, singing the song he'd written for her. Aw. It had been a week and a half since she called Marshall, and honestly, Fiona was really, really bummed that he hadn't called or texted or at least left her a message. It was Saturday, and as she lounged around the house, her foster mother Ellen called for her, and immediately Fiona hurried over. There you are, Fiona. You have mail. This just came in for you. I have mail? But nobody knows that I'm here. Taking the package, Fiona felt her heart skip a beat. The address on the package simply stated Big Yellow House with White Picket Fence on Whisper Street. Hurriedly, she opened it and pulled out a DVD. She quickly glanced at her foster mom. There's a DVD player in the family room. Nodding, Fiona hurried down the stairs, Ellen following after her at a much more reasonable pace. Fiona skipped every other step and narrowly avoided her foster father, who was grabbing a drink from the mini fridge. The TV was on some kind of CSI type show, but Fiona paid no mind, looking around until she found the DVD player, putting the disc in. Ellen entered the room just as Steve swapped the channel so the video could be seen. When it finally played, they watched as a scowling face messed with the camera, and immediately Fiona laughed, seeing her friend's face. Aw. Finally, he set it up. Alright, let's get this evil thing recording. Wait a sec, son of a... Whatever, he said with a shrug. Looks like you've got bloopers now. Hey, Fee, you're listening to when seeing the totally awesome and crazily handsome Marshall Lee. Miss me yet? He asked with a grin as he rubbed the back of his head. Heh, you probably do, because I sure miss the hell out of you. So yeah, I just wanted to send this to you before I called you so you could have a copy of the awesomeness I've created. But before you experience the Marshall magic, let me tell you how it came to be. So I missed my appointment after you left, and my doctor came to visit me instead. Cool turnaround, huh? So he talked and he said some stuff that I'm not really gonna go into, but he made me realize something. Fiona, the reason I felt the way I did when you left is because I actually like you. Shocker, huh? Marshall said with an anxious laugh. But what I'm trying to say is that I really, really like you. Is that I really like you. But you know that I'm better with music, so I wrote you a song. So I hope you like it because this is how I feel about you, he said, reaching over for his guitar as he began strumming a melody. I'm not gonna sing this. I don't know the tune, and I'm not gonna try. Oh, Fiona, I know this love is new. I barely know you, and I've fallen over you. It's the way you do the things you do that made me fall in love with you. Oh, Fiona, are you in love with me too? That made me fall in love with you. Fiona, are you in love with me too? Hearing this, the blonde beamed, her face tinged pink, and closing her eyes, she listened to the song, imagining that he was here, singing the song to her, for just a moment before opening them again to watch as he continued singing. She had a cat named Cake and a little bit of this, and it's all she needs to live. I got a little bit of love and ran to Kitty here, and it's all I have to give. Now I'll try to show her that I'm never letting go. Oh, Fiona, I know this love is new. I barely know ya, and I'm falling over you. It's the way you do, the things you do that made me fall in love with you. Fiona, are you in love with me too? I'm in love with you. Are you in love with me too? Aw. The chords of the guitar slowly faded out, and once again Marshall spoke, though now his face was a bit pinker. Like I said, and now I'm just being complicated. That song said for me what I can't say, so even though I said it, I hope you understand the song, and I'm hoping you feel the same way because I have my heart guts, and I hope I have yours. Call me when you get this, okay? Laters, he said with a wink to the camera, but just before he could shut it off, Marshall began yelling, demon spawn! Cut it the hell out, Cake! Dude, your cat's evil! He shouted, snatching the orange and white cat around the middle. Aw, there you go. Say hi to Fiona before I stuff and mount you on my wall as a trophy, you wench, Marshall said in a sickly sweet voice, holding Cake towards the camera. Meow. Okay, you said hi, Happy. Now be gone, he said, tossing the cat gently to the side. Aw. Aw. I look forward to hearing from you, Fee, he said with a smile as the video went black. Oh, Fiona, that song was beautiful, Ellen said with a beaming smile to her foster daughter who was grinning like a fool. You know, he sounds and looks very similar to his father. He could probably remake a few of his songs and have them be a hit, Steve said thoughtfully. Fiona dug through her pockets, pulling out her phone slowly until she reached Marshall's name and hit call listening as it rang twice before it was picked up. Hey, I was wondering when you'd call me. Marshall, I love the song, I love the video, and I think I'm in love with you too, she said softly into the phone. I miss you so much, Marshall, and if you ever threaten to stuff in Mount Cake again, I'll kick your buns in next week. Hey, I'll say it all day because for you to kick my buns in the next week, you gotta be here to do it. Fiona could just hear the genuine smirk in his voice, and for the first time since she moved, she smiled a genuine smile. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. And we got through all three chapters. I'm so happy right now. I might just make this like a 5 chapter mega upload. But anyway, I really, really appreciate you guys watching this video like I always do. I love each and every one of you. Please don't forget to always be yourself. And please don't forget you are valid. And I'm gonna try and do daily uploads. I'm gonna do mostly fiction readings. I might do one or two other things here and there, but until I move, it's gonna be mostly fiction readings because honestly, I can't do a whole lot. Like I can't do the introduction video. I There's other videos I want to do, but I don't really want to do them until I do the introduction video that I was planning, which also involves introducing my rats and like showing you guys the new place and stuff. But because I don't have a place, I'm sure you guys understand. I want to get the introduction done before I move myself in. I mean, before I start doing other videos, which requires moving myself into a new place. And I've also been packing and stuff, so I don't even have my notebook with, like, I had a notebook with a bunch of ideas for YouTube in it, but I don't have it anymore because I packed it away somewhere. I packed, like, all my old notebooks away and only kept out, like, the two major projects I was planning on writing over the next month or two, like, until I get a new place, which will hopefully be soon. Anyway, I'm stressing out looking for this new apartment, and I think this one's gonna help keep me sane, and I think I should start writing again too. I mean, there's other stuff I want to do. I'm just gonna cut out the part where I said a bad word. Anyway, there's other stuff I want to do too, but like, I just want to be moved into the new place, you know? Like, it's freaking me out that I don't have a new place. And me and my mom have been looking, and like, I don't know my hair. What is happening with my hair? I need to. Okay. It'll probably be a lot better after I shower tonight. Anyway, okay, my mom's literally. I can see her walking. Oh, that's not my mom. Never mind. Okay, so I'm gonna go now. I think I'm not gonna risk reading another chapter, but you know what? I might just upload the entire 5 chapters at the same time and do like a mega upload, and then I'll record tomorrow's video tomorrow. Because I was gonna put the first 2 chapters that I recorded yesterday that were supposed to go up yesterday up today, and then I was gonna like put the chapters that I recorded today up tomorrow. So they're all like a day after I record them. So I record them Friday and then they go up Saturday and I record them. And I have to do extra recordings on Friday, obviously, for the weekend. So I'm going to be recording for like hours on end, but I might just do like a mega upload since I forgot to upload, or since I didn't get a chance to upload yesterday. And yeah, we had a really stressful situation and then it was just too late by the time we got home, and honestly, anyway, I'm gonna go, but if this is uploaded today, then you guys know that I decided to upload it all 5 chapters at the same time. And if it's uploaded tomorrow, then you guys know I decided to break it up into 2 different upload days. And either way, I love each and every one of you. Please don't forget to always be yourself. You are valid, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.